Welcome, PBA LBC League Bowlers. I'm Neil Stremmel, your Director of Rules and Equipment for the PBA, and today I'm joined by PBA superstar Kyle Troup. Kyle, thank you for being here today. Greatly appreciate it. We're at Foxview Lanes. We're here for the Strike Derby on string pin machines, and it's actually the Cubica AMF Edge machines that we're going to be bowling on. And I know you've bowled on those certified string pin machines before. Can you tell me about your experience on those?
Yeah, of course. So I was able to bowl at E.J. Tackett's Center at his regional last year. That was my first experience, and after 3 days of bowling, I was quite impressed with it. Early thoughts was I didn't see any of those like crazy string pin hits. Pins falling randomly and just making all these random splits. Which I was kind of expecting that going into it. But that was great. And then when it came to like pinfall, I felt like you earn your strikes. The pins fall, the good shots strike, and the ones that don't, you're going to leave a corner pin. You may leave a few more single pins, but all in all, I was very impressed and felt like, they really had a place in the game.
Yeah, so you talk about the weird pinfall. So I know you've bowled on non-certified, older string pin machines at the Weber Cup and maybe other places. How does it compare? What do you see the differences?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't bowled on the Cubica, on the edge string pins, then you really have no voice of opinion because it was light years different. All you'd have to do was touch the pins and they'd fall. If you left a single pin, it's going to fall for a random string every time. And that's where I got my perception of it was, oh gosh, this is a joke. But the certified machines, like I said, I think they have a great place in bowling. It's about as close to free fall as you can get. There's just a string on top of the pin, but all in all, I think they're a really great product.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I know they change, things in the pit and the kickbacks, and especially the string length. So, especially with your speed and rev rate, on the old strings with the shorter strings, like you would just send them flying and then they'd probably trip everything out. You saw that probably a lot more often.
Oh, most definitely. And I think that just shows all the data and the studies that they've done to make these adjustments. It really shows. I do believe this is a true product and a true part of the game. And people just need to embrace the strings a little bit. Once they get to experience the edge strings, I think their opinions will change a little bit on it.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. In a competitive environment, what kind of things do you do compared to free fall to adjust on the string machines to be able to strike more consistently?
For me, like I said, I got to bowl the regional at EJ's house, and I was actually able to win that event. But throughout it, I just really had to focus on making a little bit better shot. Keeping my feet a little bit slower so I can have a little more leverage at the line. My hand stays underneath the ball a little bit more. And then, you don't really struggle with the pin carry. But, if I fell off on my shot or kind of missed it at the bottom, probably not going to strike. You're not rolling many two pins, but, it's just true bowling. What do they say? You throw 9, you get 9. I kind of agree with that.
All right, understood. So we're seeing a lot of comments about, fairness. So when you bowled on it, the comments from your regional across the board were, they're fair. It was a good environment from a tournament standpoint. PBA wise, we have an environment where everybody's kind of in the same center bowling, in the same environment, and so I feel that it's fair. Is that what you saw? Is that what you heard?
Yeah, I could agree with that. If obviously, I guess this is the first PBA, national event, televised event on strings. I do believe that, we could bowl for a title on string pins. I feel like that's very fair to say. If we categorize them the same, that's a whole different conversation. They'll have to figure all that out. But I do believe, that they are fair enough, or, might as well call it bowling, to be able to bowl for a national title, I believe.
All right, well, I appreciate that's good information. I'm glad to hear it. I hope the bowlers out there took in some of that information. I hope you go practice or try on string pin machines, especially the Cubica AMF Edge machine. And I hope you continue to support our sport. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.